Well, good almost morning to you all, and thank you for joining me on the West Ham Network for a late. I haven't done one for quite a while. It's been probably over a month since we last did one. But last time we did one, it was just me just rabbiting on. And it kind of gets a bit boring listening to just one person. So I thought I'd invite a few guests on. Now, we were meant to do this about, I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but a number of things happened in the way. And unfortunately, I kept letting these guys down. So I'm really pleased to finally get them on. My fault for not getting them on sooner. And I'll bring them on one by one. I'll bring them on from I'm kind of judging it for myself from the happiest to the gloomiest. So I think the first we'll have on is Gary. Good evening, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Russ. Elliot.
Yeah, right, do I look like a Russ? Right, he's off. Right, that was Gary. He won't be coming back on again.
You know why? Russ has been chatting all night to us. I've got Russ on the brain. But
I think he wants to come on. Russ, if you're watching, tell me if you want to come on and I'll tell you no. But yeah.
It's good to be considered the happiest of Claret Booze.
Well, it was a close call because I think, the next happiest is clearly Virgil. I call you Virgil. I'll call you John. John,
Call me John.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. I'm good. I just want to let everyone know clearly. I've known Nick for 35 years. He's always been miserable, right? It's not an act.
Does that mean I was absolutely right to bring him on last? Now,
I resemble that remark still. I resemble that remark.
There's a rule normally for the Late Show where it's no script. I know we talk very briefly, maybe about one or two subject areas. But one of the things that we will do, Nick, clearly, is the minute you start moaning, you will be off the show.
Hi, Nick.
I want you quoting to me, I read in this social media column that we're going to buy so-and-so and we're selling so-and-so and all that. Because I have a bit of banter with Nick, and I hope you do realise it is banter, that Nick sometimes puts a post on Facebook and goes, "Oh my good God, we're doing this." And I'm like, "Oh my good God, you really fell for that one, mate." But I think it's all good. It's all good. Are you well?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yeah. First time doing a show past. I think we are past midnight now, aren't we?
We are about 10 seconds past. Yeah.
So that'd be interesting. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling quite sprightly, to be honest.
Good.
How about yourself? Are you feeling better?
Much better. Yeah, my arm was falling off last week or whenever it was I had the jab. If you guys haven't had the booster yet, it's interesting. I'll tell you that. Yeah. It's very unpleasant. But I'm guessing with all this, we are going into lockdown, aren't we? Really? It looks that way, and I'm kind of in a way I'm a bit relieved that I have had it done. But let's not get into the politics because I know there's people that don't like it, etc. So
just one comment. It's either lockdown or Christmas parties for everyone.
Well, mate, I mean, we could do a whole show on that, couldn't we? Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Ironically, we had our Christmas do yesterday. We had I rarely see my team because we all work from home. Yeah. And I think I've seen them all. It's actually the second time that I've seen them all in the last year. We sort of few people go into the office every now and again, and we all got together on Thursday, and it was nice. It was really nice. But there's that consciousness of, is this probably the last time we're going to see each other again for maybe another 6 months? So we know what's coming, don't we?
I had mine today, actually. We was down at I won't say the name of the place, but we was at Old Jewry, and it wasn't Goodman's. And I was outraged because I had a turkey dinner, and I seriously 2 slices of turkey, 3 potatoes, 1 carrot, and do you know what really pissed me off? 1 pig in a blanket. That is all I got.
He literally, I think between courses, he came out of the restaurant and sent us a voice note.
I mean, it didn't take you long. I gave you a warning, and 6 minutes in, you actually moaned about your dinner. Brilliant. This is going to be a fun show.
I'll be good. I'll be super positive now. Still, you watch.
Well, you said that just before you moaned about your dinner. So what did you do? Did you pay the bill, or did you just?
I wasn't paying for it, but I still moaned.
Oh, you weren't paying for it?
No.
Right.
No.
And you still moaned.
It was our work, Stu. And
was your work, Stu? Oh, what you get it for?
And thankfully, I work for a big corporate, and with all the new guidance that has come out, it was kind of hanging in the balance as to whether or not that they was going to call it off. But thankfully, they didn't. Which I think many people are. Many people are calling these things off now, aren't they?
Yeah, they have done, and I think the biggest fear now, it's quite interesting because I'm sure you all watched the Rapid Vienna West Ham game where there was no crowd, and we kind of forgotten how bad it was, and I've got a fear that we might be going back that way, and I hope not. I hope not, because it would be awful if we did. But there is that fear. Imagine, I mean, because they didn't even put any forced crowd noise in the background; it was just dead. I've got that fear that we might be going back that way. But let's hopefully we win the Europa League and the League Cup and finish fourth in the league before we get locked down again, eh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
As long as we get Spurs out of the way, that quarter final, I want that to happen.
Oh, well, that's something we can talk about. Well, let's start with that, because they've now been given 3 games off, haven't they, or something like that?
Yeah, I can't understand it.
Go on, lads. Go on.
I can't understand how they get. I know it's COVID and it's beyond their control, but I mean, I said it earlier on to these guys that last week Benfica played against a team in the Portuguese league where the Portuguese team had to put out 2 goalkeepers on it, outfield and things like that. Wow. And I know that becomes a little bit of a farce, but it can't be one rule for one and one rule for another, can it? Surely. No. I mean,
well, this is the thing I was kind of arguing, because Russ did his lunchtime show today, and everyone was saying, when I mentioned about the Aston Villa situation last season, everyone was saying, well, it's because it was in the cup.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hang on, and I'm sure I know Russ threw a whole load of rules at my way and said, I told you so. But that's interesting though, John, because if that's what happened to in Portugal, surely there's a sort of a blanket sort of arrangement where if you can't field, I've always been led to believe that if you can't field a senior team, then you just got to put your youngsters out or something like that.
I thought I heard yesterday you had to have 13 fit players.
Right.
That's what I thought I heard. So Tottenham went from having 5 affected with COVID, then all of a sudden they just only managed to scrape 12 together. So
you're telling me Spurs, what's the first team squad that you have to announce? Is it 23 players or 24 players or something like that?
24, 25 even, I think, something like that.
Yeah. And you're allowed more in Europe, aren't you? Because you can submit players. Yeah. So they were saying that the justification for knocking off the European game was they only had 12 fit players. Now, I can't believe they only had 12 fit players across their first team squad and their youth team, or whoever was qualified to play in Europe. I mean, that is a bit, it sticks in the craw a bit that the cutoff was 13 and they only had 12.
Yeah, it does depend who was which of the players were infected, though, because obviously if Harry Kane was infectious, the way that he talks and sprays over everyone, then
Harry Kane is massively infectious.
I can well understand that that's going to spread pretty quickly, isn't it? To be fair.
Very true, very true. Okay, well, I mean, it sounds to me like it's quite interesting, because they'll probably be fresh and ready for the Carabao Cup if they've got their next 3 games cancelled. I don't know their schedule, don't really care much about their schedule, but I'm guessing it's going to be there or thereabouts, isn't it?
I think so, because it's like 10 days off. So when does that 10 days start? Did it start a couple of days ago? In which case they'll be back in time for the League Cup game. And like you say, that is my worry as well. They're going to come back lovely and rested. They're going to have a lovely 10 days with COVID. Not
if they've had COVID, they won't come back lovely and rested.
Hopefully, Kane will be breathing out of his arse. He won't be able to run 5 yards. It'll just be, hopefully that'll be the case. But my fear is that they're playing the rules and they're going to, and they're going to pull a fast one on us, and they're going to be lovely and fresh for our game. That's my fear.
The only thing I heard on TalkSport today was that apparently the game by UEFA rules has to be fulfilled by the end of the year. However, Rennes, they go in on their Christmas break or winter break from the 22nd. So
right.
Okay. So interestingly, that would mean if they can't fulfil the fixture, then somebody would have to throw the fixture. Yeah, so it'd be Spurs would have to forfeit it. But to be honest with you, they probably want to be out of that cup anyway, wouldn't they? Really? I mean, it's a bit of a hindrance, is it not?
Well, depends on whether they want to win anything or not. And
they would be favourites to win that, wouldn't they? If they went through, you would imagine that they would be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go on, I forgot to ask you guys to promote your channel. So one of you do that.
I'll go on. I can't do that. Go on.
Oh, we're not good at this stuff.
I'll do it. I mean, look, our channel is Claret and Booze. You can reach us at claretandbooze.com, which takes you straight to the YouTube page. Please subscribe if have a look at what we do and subscribe. We're not the sort of people that beg for subscribers, to be honest. We haven't done that all the way through, but we do appreciate them. We do appreciate them all. We've done quite well. We're 2.5 months to 3 months in. We're closing in on 1,000 subs. Our videos seem to be received quite well. We just try to we don't do loads of shows. We don't. We do like 1 or 2 a week, and we try to put a fun twist on things, and we try to have a bit of a laugh. It's a standard cast of 3: me, John, who are the moderates, and Nick, who's a miserable fucker, and we try to play off against each other.
On the life and soul.
Yeah, me and Nick are brothers. He's 10 years younger than me, and that shows because I've got a wealth of experience, right? He doesn't. And I think, look, it's a good fun thing. Please come across and give us a sub. And I hope you enjoy the shows. Thank you, Stel.
That's my pleasure. And sorry I didn't have a proper link up because I should have done that. A true professional would have had a proper link.
We did give you a push earlier on as well because Russ was on the he was on the chat on our show earlier. Because I know. And what are you? You're 30 away, yeah? From
about 25, 30 away from the big 10K. Yeah. And I kind of I turned round to Anton and said, "There's no way we'll do it by the end of the year," and he's just about going to get in.
Mate. You're doing
it. I know.
You're going to do it.
I might have to put a few people out, take them out of the subscription, so I just win that little bet. come midnight on the 31st, we've got like 9,998, or something like that. Just so he doesn't win. Right. So staying on that game. I mean, it's our great opportunity, isn't it, to get through to the semi-finals. I mean, when you get to that stage, you're dreaming, aren't you? Do you think, despite the fact that they're going to have their rest and God knows what else, you think we've got a good chance this season, lads, of winning something? And will that be the Carabao Cup?
John, go on.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 42, and I've never seen West Ham in such a strong position as we're in. All right. Gary will talk about the good old days of black and white cup trophy wins and all that. All right. I actually hang on to Intertoto Cup and Betfair Cup wins and all that. That is and Nick's, that is what we cling to. So this is the best position we've ever been in my time watching West Ham. And I'd love to think we can win a cup. And I think we can win a cup. The only thing that worries me is people's overhyped expectations, because we're doing so well all of a sudden. It's a slight concern that people will become very disappointed if we suddenly slip out of top 4 or, we don't go all the way to the final in Seville for the Europa League final. Winning the Carabao Cup, let's be honest, winning the Carabao Cup for a team like West Ham United, as much as we know we're massive and all of this, winning a Carabao Cup, and I said it to Gary and Nick earlier, that is the next step for us. That is progression. As well as finishing in Europe again is progression. Winning a cup is like the first step onto something possibly
massive,
greater than we can probably imagine. Do you know what I mean? Without being dramatic. So
no, I agree. I mean, I'm as nearly as old. I don't know how old you are, Gary.
I'm very. I'm going to repeat my joke from earlier. I'm 37 still.
37. You're only a year younger than I am, mate.
Exactly.
So
I'm 52.
So I am the oldest on here. I was wondering if I was the oldest or not, because I'm like Gary. I'm 59, mate. So I remember the days of winning the FA Cup in '75 and being in the final of the Cup Winners' Cup and the 80s A Cup, 81 League Cup final when we lost to Liverpool. So I think we've seen, but we have seen bad times as well. So people think, Yeah. Oh, the old days were great because you won a few cups, but we got relegated a few times as well. In that time period. So
me and my cousin Paul, we were at football last night. We were talking about, because Ross, my son, was with us as well, and he's only, what is he, 27, 28, and he's seen a lot of misery in the time that he's been supporting West Ham, and we just said to him, "You don't know you've been born, mate."
Yeah,
we've been relegated about 5 or 6 times since we've been
exactly
right, starting in 1978 and wherever else, And I've got to be honest, I agree totally with John. I will take any silverware. And to me, the League Cup, you mentioned 1981, Stel. That was quite major in 1981. It was a big cup in 1981.
It was a big cup in 91,
yeah. And to me, it's still a big cup in my mind. I'd love to win it. It's the best three-handled trophy there is out there. Love to win it, but the one that I would love to win above all else, forget fourth, forget the Carabao Cup, forget the FA Cup. I would love to win the Europa League. I'd love to get our hands on that trophy. That would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic for our first season in there, don't you think, Nick? I mean, from where we were 2 seasons ago, and to be in the even getting to the final of that would be superb.
It'd be amazing, honestly. And like I say, I think I asked you guys a question earlier on, not just talking about the Europa League, because there's some good teams that have dropped down into that Europa League now, which kind of excites me to a degree. I would love to draw Barcelona in the last 16. I think we've just beat Liverpool, we've just beat Chelsea. I think we're kind of set up to play to play the better teams. It's other teams like Atalanta, and I know they're a big team, but it's a style that they play that they bother me. I think providing we get the right route to the final, we can do it. Obviously, injuries permitting as well. We have got a thin squad. But the important thing for me is going to be momentum. And I think, the League Cup, because we are going to have that mental block on us, I think we are. We're not winners at the moment. We haven't got that winning mentality. We haven't won anything, have we? Apart from the Betway Cup. And if we can, beat Spurs in that semi-final, and it will be in the quarter-final, and it will be a tough ask, because by the time that we go into the next meaningful game in the last 16 of the Europa League, if we go all the way in that League Cup, we could be League Cup champions.
Oh,
We've already got a cup. We've already got a cup in our back pocket.
Yeah.
And that takes the pressure off. That takes the pressure off of us. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we can literally enjoy ourselves then, because we've actually almost to a degree. I think we've achieved our goal. I think at that point, if we won a cup,
I think if we did that, if we won the League Cup, I think we would win the Europa League. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I think
drive us on.
I think it'd take the pressure off. All these years of not winning a cup, if we won a cup and put that to bed, I think everything else after that is gravy, isn't it? It's all a bonus.
Absolutely.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
Well, staying on the Europa League, I mean, we saw the game last night, and of course we had kind of a bit of an unusual thing for Moyes. I mean, even though it was a nothing game, he went out and did what we all thought he wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And he went out and put on a whole back line of youngsters and a front man, Sonny Perkins, up there, up front, and then kind of sandwiched in between, an experienced keeper, a couple of inexperienced holding defense midfielders and attacking midfielders. Were you surprised? Were any of you shocked that he actually fielded so many youngsters at the start? How many did you think would have been there?
Yeah, I wasn't shocked.
No, I think because we know Moyes, he loves the experience. I would have wanted him to have done that, what he did yesterday, but I didn't believe that Moyes would. So whilst I wasn't disagreeing with Nick, I just didn't think Moyes would. I thought he would throw in a Dawson or a Diop to sit in alongside those 3 other would have been inexperienced defenders, if you like. But to do what he did, hats off to him. Massive kudos to him, because I didn't think he would do that, because we know that Moyes is stubborn. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you not think that a lot of that as well is probably due to the fact that we've got such a good under-23 team that are doing so well, and they are actually very good players. That if they weren't up to the task, I don't think he wouldn't have been like lambs to the slaughter. I think he must have faith in these kids to a degree. You know,
absolutely. And there are some. I mean, people that sort of watch my Monday shows know I try and do a few minutes about the youngsters, and there's some names there that I've kind of gotten used to talking about. Alese in the back there, Baptiste, who I think is going to be, people are talking about him as being the next Rio already. He could even be better than Rio, and he'll be even better if he stays with us rather than pissing off to Leeds or wherever. Ashby, we've seen a couple of times before. And Longello is the one that surprised me. I'm going to ask you guys in a minute who you thought was the standout player. But before I do that, let's talk about some of the senior players that started last night. Who would we like to start with? I've got 4 on my list, and I'm sure we're going to speak about all of them.
Let's start with the worst. Let's start with Yarmolenko, who was fucking diabolical for the whole night, right? I mean, it's like he couldn't be bothered. There was a time in the second half. I don't know if you saw this, if you were in the ground, right? But in the second half, he was in front of Ashby. There was one time where the ball changed direction. He was up the pitch. The ball changed direction and it went back towards the defense, and literally the look on his face, he looked totally pissed off. He had to turn around and run back. I was outraged. I mean, the guy just didn't put in the shift. It's like he didn't want to play. If you don't want to play, don't play him. Just keep him out. Waste of time.
I've been trying to sort of like, for the 2.5 seasons he's been with us, I've been trying to sort of give him the benefit of the doubt. The first season he started off bright. Got a really bad injury, missed the rest of that season. Happened again in the second season, just another bad injury. But I've got to be honest, I think I don't really have many excuses for him. And I think you're right. I think what was a good thing and a shame. A good thing that we had all these youngsters in there, and also playing alongside these experienced professionals and probably looking up to them and thinking, I'm playing alongside Noble. I'm playing alongside, Yarmolenko, etc. And it's a shame because the interesting thing with Yarmolenko is he asks to play in the under-23s to keep himself fit.
Right.
And yet, when he's had an opportunity to play in a competitive game, you're absolutely right, Gary.
He wants to move on now, doesn't he? I think you've got obviously the Shevchenko link. There's something in that, isn't there? There's something in that.
Do you think that will happen, Nick?
I kind of hope it does now, providing we can get other people in. I mean, I think he's got one foot out the door now. If he is going, I'll be honest with you, I don't blame him for not risking injury in that game. It was a dead rubber game as well. I don't blame him because he's got you got January around the corner and he's got a bad injury record, isn't he? So. And they're a physical team, these Eastern European teams. They're not soft teams, are they? I know they're not the best technically, but
he is Eastern European as well.
Yeah,
I know. But what I'm saying is, he's not made of glass, but his injury record isn't great, is it?
There is rumour that talks have already been held. Now, like I always say, only believe it when you actually see it happen. But there is rumour that talks have already been held. Apparently one of the Ukrainian coaches came out and said he wants to move, talk on his behalf, etc. Yeah. And you kind of think you put 2 and 2 together. Sometimes you put 2 and 2 together and you come up with 5. And I've got some transfer names that we're going to talk about later on, and you're coming up with 50 rather than 5. But with the Yarmolenko link, it kind of
like I get all my rumours from, by the way. It's all
yeah, you get them from me. And then you say, Stell said, he absolutely said, absolute gospel. But this one sounds like it's Shevchenko's gone to Genoa. Shevchenko knows Yarmolenko from old. They played together in the same national team. He's managed him, in the national team. It's a bit of a no-brainer, really. I mean, it kind of the glove fits here, doesn't it?
It does. I think, Yarmolenko is the highest scorer ever for the Ukraine national team. He's a hero in Ukraine. There was rumours of him going back to Ukraine to play for one of their teams. And so going to play for Shevchenko is, the next best thing because Shevchenko is probably the second best Ukrainian player ever, isn't he? In terms of goal scoring.
In terms of goals now, yeah.
So I think... listen, I'm not going to have a go at Shevchenko a lot for yesterday, because yesterday was, to us, like it or not, even though it wasn't to the kids, it was a meaningless game. It was a dead rubber, and it was played with the tempo by our senior players of a friendly. And so I'm not going to slate Yarmolenko that much over yesterday. And this might surprise you, but in all of the competitive European games so far, he's been really good.
He has been. He has been good.
Yeah, he has. I think it's time. Sometimes it's time for a player to go, and the Italian league is slower paced. There's no doubt about that, and it will actually suit him. Yarmolenko could go there and probably eke out another 2 seasons there, a season and a half, and he'll probably end up doing quite well.
And also, do you not think that because I don't think he is a one-trick pony. I think that when you play Yarmolenko on the right-hand side, he's a one-trick pony because he's left-footed, which means that he's looking to get inside on his left foot. I do think that when you see him play for Ukraine, I know occasionally he does play out on the right, but more often than not, he's got a bit of a free roll centrally. Yeah. And when you play him on the right, he's a one-trick pony. And I think that's the only way we've ever used him. And I don't think that does get the best out of him. I've got to be honest.
Well, weirdly, it's probably the best he's played for us, because I think halfway through the game he was put out left and he looked even worse there.
I mean centrally. I mean, I think I'll be inclined to play him centrally.
Yeah, I've always said that. I've always said, if you're going to play him up front. Let him be lazy up front. But then again, we got rid of the best Champions League goal scorer who was lazy up front. And so that weren't going to happen for Yarmolenko, was it?
I know.
I think the pecking order up front for us at the moment is Antonio, Bowen, Yarmolenko. So I think if you get rid of Yarmolenko, that is a sure sign that we're getting a striker in.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts
on Lingard still? Do you think Lingard's coming in?
We're going to talk about transfers in a little later on the show, at about 2:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I just want to say a quick hello to someone, because going through a little bit of a tough time. Julie, I hope you're well, and I hope everything's okay. We chatted earlier. Julie's a good friend, and when she says "and you're on time," she knows how bad I am. We go to football together, and the only time I ever get on time when we're going to away games is because we've got to catch a train. I've got no choice but to be on time. So, Julie, thanks for joining. We'll talk about transfers later on, mate. But I just want to talk about one or two other senior players. What did you guys make of Vlasic yesterday?
Worked hard. That was all I'd say. Worked hard.
There's no. I'll tell you what with him, right? What John said, works hard, puts in a shift, definitely does. Especially in the first half, I thought he was very, very busy down the left-hand side. He put one decent cross in for Yarmolenko, which was a similar arc to that one he crossed when Yarmolenko scored the header in the last game. I think with him, what I was expecting was a tricky little player who wins the ball. Because I watched a lot of his footage from his previous career in CSKA Moscow, where he seemed to pick the ball up in sort of deep midfield. He jiggled a bit and he played a killer pass, or he had a shot, or he did something like that, right? So there was an end product. What there doesn't seem to be at the moment with him is an end product. He does the middle bit. He wins the ball. A little bit of impressive play. He'll hold on to it. He'll shield the ball. He'll pass it out wide. But the killer pass is not there. And so what you've got, the difference between him and Benrahma, the way I see it, is Benrahma. Vlasic, I don't know why he don't play the killer pass, whether he's more risk averse. And so he looks to see if the pass is on. And if the pass is not on, he doesn't play it. And so he turns around and he plays safety first. I think that's what it is. With Benrahma plays the ball regardless whether it's on or not. So it's like two different things. So, I mean, I don't know whether he's a victim of his own, how can I say, being very cautious and not wanting to make a mistake and not wanting to pass the ball to the opposition.
It's interesting because he says his best position is central attacking midfield.
Not from what I've seen.
Which he hasn't played yet.
Well, he has. I think
he has been. He's played the once or twice
as well. He's played it once or twice. And he hasn't been impressive. But again, Is it that he's very, very risk averse and he looks for a pass, and if the pass ain't on, he don't take it, and so he tends to turn around and play the simple ball, or is it that he doesn't have it in his locker to play that Hollywood pass?
I think we're looking too deep into it. I mean, I think we've all been defending. Look, at the end of the day, we've signed this player, so we need him to come good. So I will back him. Unlike Král, who I don't think is good enough, and I don't want us to sign him because he's on loan. So I can see that he's not good enough. So I'm sorry. I think Moyes obviously feels the same.
That's interesting, Nick, because he was the next on my list. What did you not see in him that? Because I defended him last night. I said in one of the posts that
he can't pass the ball more than 6 foot for a start.
Well, hang on.
Maybe that's not his role to.
Just come back from COVID, which apparently affected him quite badly. Yeah. His first 90 minutes for West Ham United. He's a defensive midfielder who can also play in central defence as well. And by all accounts, he does make the national team. And we've seen a couple of the players from the Czech Republic who are pretty decent. So he's in and amongst around, those sorts of players, the Součeks, etc.
Yeah.
Is he not just another player that we've just not seen enough of, or have you seen enough to say?
I've seen enough.
Yeah, it just ain't going to happen.
I don't think he. I don't think he did bad yesterday. I think he did what he was meant to do. I think he stopped a lot of the plays. He's a stopper. He's very Souček-esque.
That's what I'm thinking.
He stops it. He breaks it up. He gives away those good free kicks that, that's a great yellow card. That's a great free kick. He'll stop them playing and he'll just pop the ball off. He's not going to play those long, over the top passes and worldies. He's going to pop it off to someone else to do that.
Absolutely.
And whilst I don't think he's a bad player, I'm not sure if he's a player we actually need with Souček there, and also the fact that if need
is he worth 17? Is he worth 17 million?
No.
Well, 70 million in today's world is not a lot of money, is it?
It's not a lot of money, but one of the interesting things is when we only had Mark Noble as backup to Souček and Rice, everyone was screaming out for we need another holding midfielder, and everyone was talking about Connor Coventry, who's out on loan at Peterborough, can't even get a game there.
Yeah,
and they were saying, play him, play the kids. Yeah. And I'm going to get back onto the kids in a minute. And, Coventry was meant to be the next big deal. And even I was bigging up Coventry. I thought I'd seen enough of him to actually break into the first team, and that hasn't materialised. But we have all been crying out for what's going to happen if Declan gets injured? What's going to happen if Souček gets injured? We've only got Mark Noble. So we go and get Král, who hasn't actually been given enough a chance to play, and now all of a sudden it's like we don't need him. I'm intrigued by that.
It's not that we don't need him. I don't think that you look at and it isn't just his fault. Our strongest position in our team is central midfield. Our stars, the stars of our team, sit in central midfield. They do. Declan Rice is world class. These are the players that he's going up against, and our team is designed and they pivot around these players. Now, I'm sorry, he's never going to make the grade there, and that's why Coventry's an outstanding player. Still, he is. He's a brilliant player. We all saw that, but the competition there, it's not even a competition. It's who you're being measured against when you go in.
So let me ask the question: if he hadn't played alongside Mark Noble last night, and if he played alongside Declan or Souček, might you have seen a different Alex Král last night?
Maybe. This is my worry, right? Is that people are judging him on what was seen last night without taking into account the context, because he was the defensive midfielder. He provided all of the legs in midfield, covering for Noble, who was supposed to be the playmaker. So he was the one and only guy sitting in front of a junior back four. And that junior back four didn't get exposed. So I know what John's saying, and look, I've changed my thinking for a day on this. I know what John's saying, because in the second half, he tried to get, when we were chasing the game, he tried to get a bit more advanced and play some balls, some longer balls to the front players. But the thing is, the front players weren't showing for the ball anyway. Yeah. So he appeared to be just giving the ball away. So I think from that, I kind of summed it up as saying he's a very simple, win the ball, give it. Win the ball, give it.
I'm exactly with you on that.
Play it.
100% with you, because I think exactly the same way, and that's why I asked the question: if he was playing alongside Declan or Souček, that cut above, you know, you might have seen a very, very different Alex Král. And what I want to see, and I'm sure we're going to actually get the opportunity at some point, because we're going to need all these players. We're going to need the Vlasic, like you said, Nick. Vlasic is going to have to turn up at some point.
We need him to come good.
Absolutely, but I think the same with Král. I think Král is going to have to come good as well. Yeah. Because God forbid if we get another injury to either Souček or Declan, he's going to walk in because you've got a choice. It's either going to be Mark Noble or it's going to be Alex Král. And at this moment in time, my option would be get the legs, Král, because you kind of see, Gary, you're absolutely right. What he did last night, he shielded a very young and inexperienced senior level inexperienced back four, and he actually did it quite well. But these are the things that players like that when they play a game like that, it passes people by, because we see Souček running up and scoring a great header. We see Declan running through, you know, a Premier League team and sort of laying it off and scoring goals and stuff like that. And we kind of expect all our players to be like that. So I get you, Nick. You know, he isn't that level, but I think he might just be good enough as a.
I don't think he's at the level that we need to be. Basically, what he is, and it is a fact. He might be able to come in and do a job. So for 17 million, we're saying that Král can come in and he can do a job because he's athletic, he works hard, he does this and he does that. Does he improve us? No, he doesn't improve us.
Well, maybe he does if we're short.
but is he going to be happy just being a bench player for the rest of his life? He's not. He's that is our strongest area of the field. He doesn't improve us as a team. So
this is where it gets to me in another position. When you talk about players coming in and only being on the bench, we've then got to start talking about what happens to replace this person, because you, as well as everybody else, is screaming out for. We need another striker. We need.
I'm not saying that I want to rip. I'm not anti-Antonio, by the way. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm same. I'm not anti-Antonio, but we've got the same problem there as we've got in probably most parts of the park now, where we've got some fantastic, like Bowen. You know, I think he's irreplaceable. You know, I think Declan is. I think Souček is. I think, you know, a number of our players, Zuma and Ogbonna, were irreplaceable. And you know damn well that when all those players are fit, you know what your first 11 is going to be. Yeah. So not just the position of central defence, but also attack. We're going to have this problem where we have to get players in who are going to have to accept being squad members. Moyes has managed to do that with Areola. I'm actually really surprised that Moyes came out and said to Areola, I want you, but you're behind Fabianski. And Areola went, you know, and I was actually quite surprised by that. So there are players that are going to have to come in.
But that's a different example, Stel, because Areola is arguably a better keeper than Fabianski, so that's a good thing that he's managed to do that, because Areola is a super talented keeper. We're talking about Král in the same breath. Král isn't more talented than what we've already got. So the Král's got no other opportunity than to say, I'm happy to sit on the bench, because he's never going to start in front of Souček and Rice.
The question being then, if you're going to get someone that's on par to Declan or Souček, and you turn around to them and say you're going to be behind Declan and Souček, are they going to want to come to West Ham?
Yeah.
And sit on the bench. So you got to get a certain level of player in at the club that is going to be happy to have that. I'll be on the bench. I'll take my chances, etc.
So what you're saying is Král could be a good utility player that we could use.
I think so. I think Král had got a hard time of it last night from the fans, because I'm with Gary. I think he did a job that he was told to go and do. You know, to defend that back line. Do the dirty work, you know, and they're the sorts of players that really don't get the recognition, you know. I think we've got more to see. I think, you know, I've been backing Vlasic for quite a while and thinking that he's going to come good, and I'm kind of getting a bit nervous now. But I think Král deserves that time as well. But that's great having them in the squad. Otherwise, who would we have?
Because the thing is, Vlasic has had time. He really has, and there are parallels to be drawn, like Gary said earlier on. There's parallels to be drawn with like Fornals in his first season. Fornals didn't quite make the grade in his first season, and neither did Benrahma in his first season. But with both Fornals and Benrahma, you did get a glimpse of something of what they could do. Whether that would be a great pass, a moment. You got a moment from them to think, you know, I haven't seen that from Vlasic yet. And he's had a lot of game time, and he does work hard, and he does fit the profile of a Moyes player. But from a player in the attacking third of a team that are trying to sort of push on and compete in the top 6, you need to have something extra. I don't think he has.
I think the problem is as well is because of the position we're in as a club at the minute, in fighting on all fronts.
Yeah,
we need when it comes to January, when we bring players in, or when we bring our squad players in, we need them to come in and hit the ground running. 100%. It's like we don't have the time anymore. We can't bed anybody.
No more taking chances.
And if you look at our defensive unit, every defender that's been called upon at any time in the season has come in, and let's be honest, has been really good. Apart from the odd mistake here and there, Johnson's coming out of nowhere. Dawson's coming out of nowhere, and the problem is someone like Vlasic, he's had minimal opportunity. Let's be honest, right? But he hasn't really done much, to be honest with you. Král, I think Král did okay last night, and probably I'm a little bit guilty listening to you of when he did in the second half start being a bit more adventurous and he was giving the ball away. Maybe I was expecting that next step from him, that sort of Declan-esque type play. Yeah. But
we could see he's not that level without doubt. But
he was good at the defensive side of things,
Yeah. You need to have basic technical skill whereby no. What I mean is, it's one thing sort of breaking up play and winning the ball back, but if all you're going to do is once you've won the ball back is give it away again through making bad decisions, because like you're saying, he hasn't got that ability, so he's obviously trying to attempt things that he's not capable of.
But we were chasing the game, and he was trying to take the game.
So
he's changing a little bit.
I think we judge him. I think we judge players like. I think we've seen a little bit of Vlasic when he's played in the first team in the Premier League. He's come on a couple of times. I want to see Král do that, and then start judging him when he's got better players around him. Because when you have better players around him, all of a sudden you up your game as well. Of the youngsters, actually, and while we're getting on to the youngsters, can anyone answer that? Because that is an interesting question. Do we know why the carpet covering the Academy of Football was covered up last night?
We noticed that last night, and they also covered up the West Ham United over the other side of the because they had like temporary grass over both of the logos.
It's got to be to do with advertising.
It's got to be a European thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but over the other side, it just says West Ham United. So why would you cover that up?
I don't know.
But I asked Russ, obviously Russ is the DJ there, and I asked him the other week, why do they not come out to Bubbles? And he said, UEFA don't allow them to.
Not allow it, yeah.
So it's obviously something
weird,
to do with...
So it gets played just before kickoff now.
Yeah. Which doesn't help.
I still think Russ should go rogue and one night just press the Mr. Moon button in the London Stadium.
That'd be brilliant.
I miss Mr. Moon.
Yeah, I miss him as well. It's great times.
Let's get on to the youngsters. I'm going to ask you all to give me, and if it's the same one, it's the same one. Your young player of last night. I'll start with you, John.
It's only one for me, Longelo. Phenomenal, athletic, fearless, from the off, up and down, back and forward. And we don't want to build. Someone said it on our show earlier. Don't want to build them up too much because there's a danger of that. But if any of those four were to be named in the squad Sunday, I'd imagine it would be him, because he's a great asset to have on the bench if you need him. I don't think they'll throw him in straight away yet, but he just looks so assured. I've heard obviously you still talk about Elise and Baptiste, we all know about, but less about Longelo and less about Ashby, and he impressed me most. And so for me, he was man of the match.
Gary,
not just for the youngsters, but across the team.
I just want to touch on, early on, we've all heard about Baptiste and how he's going to be in the Rio Ferdinand and everything else. But to me, especially early on in the game last night, he looked physically immature. He dived in a couple of times. He got taken. There was a guy just completely took him out, just went round him like he wasn't there. And also Ashby struggled in the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So I'll take that as a settling down period, right? Mm-hmm. Also, Lacey, I thought, got a raw deal from the fans last night, because Lacey, as the leader in the under-21s, he was leading that back four. And he was getting dragged out of position by Baptiste. Sometimes he was almost over at right back covering for Ashby, right? He was doing a lot of work. Meanwhile, this magnificent young player at left back, this Longelo, absolutely fantastic. Exactly all the attributes that John just said. He's got the kid's got everything. Above all, from minute one, he got forward and supported the attack, and his defensive work was great the whole way through. So I would, let's give a little mention to Perkins up front. Poor sod, right? He's 17 years old, tall, skinny kid, 2 big lump centre halves on him. Some very some senior players around him producing absolutely bugger all service. So he's stuck in this hole. So I felt sorry for him. But if I was to do it in ranking order last night, I would obviously Longello is going to be my number 1. But starting in reverse order, I'd go Perkins because he was marked out of the game, not his fault. I would go then I would go Baptiste. Then I would go Ashby, who grew into the game. I thought he looked really good 20 minutes onwards. And then I'd go Elise because of all the other supporting arguments and everything else. And then number 1, I'd go Longello.
Nick?
Longello. I'll give you one word answer on that. I think Gary's exhausted that one. And John, that was Longello.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you're absolutely right. I do talk an awful lot about Elise and very much about Baptiste. And when I look at the stats of the players, this was Baptiste's 11th outing in the senior squad, even though he's only started, I think that was his 3rd game or third senior appearance. But I was actually surprised that he'd actually been in the senior squad that many times.
Yeah.
And I guess I've kind of latched onto because, Moyes have been talking about Baptiste saying, I want this boy around the senior squad. So, of course, your mind focuses on, well, let's focus on Baptiste. But Longello, for me, I've seen Ashby, and it's a shame because Ashby played a couple of games, I think, last season. And then I think it was the game against Hull in the cup where I think he had to be given oxygen. He went off and he had an injury. And then we kind of didn't see him, and he was injured, in and out of injuries, etc. So I was pleasantly surprised that he was called back into the senior squad. But this boy, I must admit, I know about him, but I've never had cause to talk about him because for what he did yesterday, in the game was just absolutely superb. And I'm like you guys, I gave him man of the match. I thought he was a breath of fresh air. We keep talking about, we need left backs. We need a left back cover. We need a left back cover. I think we've got one, and
it looks superb.
And I don't want to put too much pressure on the young lads because we had a situation with this young lad last season, Mipo Rebecca, where he's going to be the next big thing, and even I got carried away. This guy signed from Man United. He could have stayed with Man United. They were desperate to keep him. He decided to come to West Ham because he thought he would get first team football, etc. And then it kind of all went wrong for him. And now he's at Huddersfield and he's not getting any game time. And it's interesting because people talk about, we'll put them out on loan and see how they go. Our players aren't getting game time when they're out on loan, which worries me. And if Moyes is not a stupid guy, he would have seen what happened last night, and I think he's got his. I wouldn't be surprised if Longello was in the squad or in or around the squad now, because he was just absolutely immense. And it was great.
So you know better than me because you follow the youth team a lot more than what I do, and I'm sure it was on one of your shows that you mentioned before that Elise is a really accomplished left back as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
He plays left back as well.
Saw him. I've always known him to play at centre back, left-footed centre back. But he's gone. He's gone
away.
But he played in pre-season. He played at left back. Anton went out and sort of because they went up training in Scotland, and Anton went to see them training in pre-season, and we were sort of showing some of the games at pre-season.
I saw that.
And Elise was left back. I'm like, he's playing at left back, and he looked kind of all right. He's 20.
How was he in terms of? I mean, what I worry about. Nick said earlier that he's more defensive minded. So that to me says Johnson a bit limited going forward, which Longello wasn't. So how was he in that respect?
He wasn't, from what I recall. He certainly didn't get as far forward as Longello did. Elise as left back, but he seemed absolutely fine. He didn't look out of place, but I think his natural position is more
he's a centre back
than it is left back. but it's a good option to have if you want to play. If you want to play three at the back and you're short, we're going to talk about transfers in a minute. And if you wanted to play three at the back, and if Cresswell's not back, we believe he will be back for Sunday. But if he wasn't, and Moyes decided to play three at the back, you probably wouldn't argue to, especially with two very experienced centre backs alongside him. You might want to do that. Might want to give him a chance.
I'm going to throw you a curveball, Stel.
Go on, mate.
Longello, as good as he was going forward, would he offer more going forward as a left back than Arthur Masuaku?
Anyone would, mate. Even I
would. Still, after that goal, that magnificent goal that he meant.
Yeah, that absolute stormer where he meant it. I mean, it's kind of funny, It's kind of funny because last night when Zagreb scored their goal, I turned around to people around me and I went, that was a Masuaku moment. Because it was like almost the same. And the only difference is, the Zagreb player looked up and shot, and whereas Masuaku just hit it,
I saw Arthur warming up on the very spot, pretty much where he launched that ball on at the weekend. And I think he had the other players around him, and in my mind, he was going, "This is where the magic happened. This is where it happened, right in front of here. Look at this, guys." That spot there. That's where I launched that shot. So, yeah.
I mean, look, if you really want me to go down that rabbit hole, I will. I cheered. I mean, Julie was in the crowd with me. We stand in the Bobby Moore lower.
Yeah.
And when Masuaku scored that goal against Chelsea, I was shocked. Looked around. Everyone was looking at me because they know I'm not the greatest lover of Masuaku. But I ran up and down the back of the Bobby Moore lower.
Yeah,
I actually ran. You're in the Bobby Moore lower, aren't you, Gary?
I am. I mean, let's be honest. That goal was fucking hilarious. Still, wasn't it?
It was because the timing of it against who it was.
Yeah,
the whole thing. And I actually found myself running like a loon up and down the back of the Bobby Moore lower. I ran up and then back down. And I came. And where'd you go? I'm like, I've got to get rid of this nervous energy. I couldn't believe it. I was laughing. I was absolutely.
I know. I was cuddling everyone. I was kissing everyone. It was amazing. I was cuddling all sorts of randoms that were coming up to me.
It was just what a moment. Because who it was against, etc., etc. It was just, I mean, and people have sort of said to me since then, you got to cut him some slack. What? Why? I mean, it's great that we won. I'm glad that he scored, etc., etc. Yeah. But for me, he's had 5 years to prove himself, and he still hasn't.
Me and John are insisting. There's a backstory to why you dislike him, haven't we, John?
Yeah, there's got to be. Your hatred towards him is.
It isn't a hate. It ain't a hatred. It ain't a hatred.
No, I'm only joking.
It's honestly and truly, it is the amount of time because I've had people say to me, he's not a left back, he's a left wing back, and he's better going forward. And I did a show specifically on Cresswell and Masuaku's stats, and I averaged them out because I know Cresswell's played more games because people were saying, he's played more games. So I did an average stats of assists and goals, and Cresswell knocked spots off him, and people say, he's great at going forward, he's great at creating chances, and it's like, unfortunately, you're not correct. It is not. It is a fallacy that people think he's great going forward. He has no end product.
I don't think he's great going forward. I just think he's better going forward than defending. Because
I lied to you.
Defending is comical, isn't it?
I lied to you last Saturday when we did the Chelsea review, Stel, when we were talking about how good Masuaku is and everything else, and I did say that he meant that goal.
You did.
I did. But I must be honest with you. In retrospect, I must be absolutely honest with you, because what you said when he was going to become the left back against Chelsea, right? We had a sharp intake of breath over in the Bobby Moore lower, right?
Yeah, everyone.
We were thinking, what the is going to happen here, right? We didn't know what was going to happen, so I did lie to you on the review, but I had to. It's like the artistic license, right?
I support, I know people don't think I do, and I do get a lot of stick for not standing up for Masuaku. I get a lot of here we go. King Arthur is going to be subscriber number 10,000.
Just to piss Phil off.
When they put the shirt on, they go out there and give it their all. I support them, and do you know what? I've even done it at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of last season, when Masuaku was playing a few games before he had his knee surgery, he was playing well, and I said he played. He's been playing well, and then when he's come back, he's done all right. But the thing is lapse of concentration. When Moyes puts him on, he puts him on to play five at the back. I know he's a wing back, but it's about playing five at the back, and he did it against City, and he did it against Brighton, where he's on the pitch, and Moyes has kind of told him, this is where you need to be. You need to stop the crosses going in. You need to stop people going down those flanks and getting the balls in. And fuck me, what does he do? He gets on the fucking pitch and he allows people to do what Moyes tells him not to do. No. And the thing that stuck in my mind the worst was 3-3 against Brighton a couple of seasons ago. Where we were winning 3-1. We were winning 3-1 within seconds. And I said it to friends around me. I said, Masuaku's coming on. I bet it'll be 3-3. And what the fuck happened? We were 3-3.
Well, I don't know what it was, but I took my two youngest kids, and at the time they were quite young and impressionable. One was my little girl Lily. She was about 9 or 10 at the time, and Adam was a couple of years older than her, right? And they hate football, both of them. My oldest boys, they love football. My two youngest hate football. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll take them to an away game. And I took them to West Brom away, right? And I've taken to home games. They weren't impressed. Took them to West Brom away. Masuaku had the biggest bastard of a game you've ever seen in your life. And we're about 3-0 down at half time. And that was it. It was all over. So I should be like you with Masuaku still. I should be. But I think he offers a hell of a lot going forward. The problem is the guy doesn't look behind him, and so if he's playing as a left back and he's got the whole game in front of him, then he's fine as a left back. As soon as he pushes forward, he forgets what's going on behind him, and so that happened with Chelsea a couple of times early on when he became left back. Right?
I always liked Masuaku on the left with Cresswell behind him.
Because he knows Cresswell will cover for him.
Yeah.
If there was a little bit more end product with Masuaku on a regular basis, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I would be more than happy with him. I'd say, he's okay. But the unfortunate thing for me is it's just there's just not enough end product for him as a left wing.
Well, the stats speak for themselves, like you said. If you look back over the last 5 years in terms of goals, assists, and there's probably more fuck ups than assists, isn't there?
Exactly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So please, people, don't hate me. I don't hate Masuaku. I'm a very frustrated Masuaku follower. But we talk about sort of for me, he is one of our squad players. We've talked about Vlasic. Yeah. We've talked about other players like that. What do we do? I mean, and we're kind of leading into. We talked about the youngsters, etc. Mm-hmm. Apart from Longelo, I mean, Perkins, he's not ready.
He's not ready, physically ready. No.
He's not physically ready yet. As John said, I think he's got. He'll get there. He's a tall lad. He looks quite quick. I think he's got intelligent movement, but he's going to have to get a little bit of meat on the bone. I think.
What you got to remember is he's 17, isn't he? Perkins.
Yeah, he's a baby. He's a baby.
Longelo's 20. If you look at the 3 years at that age is a big gap physically. They develop and all that. And Perkins, I think he's been he was a winger, wasn't he? And he got converted to a striker or something.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
So it's a big step up physically. Coming from under 23s to that.
And he's only recently gone into the under 23s as well. I mean, he's been primarily for the under 18s. So, he's only recently stepped up to under 23s. But, fair play to Moyes. He's done what I think we got to give him credit, haven't we? Because it gives these lads a taste of what it's all about. Coming on with a legend like Noble as well. Clearly, I don't know what's going on with Noble's laces there, but I think he's nicked one of the young kids' boots or something by the looks of it. But they must have all been chuffed to be around Mark Noble, and they can see what hard graft can do. You get recognized, and we've got a bright future. You know, the academy has always been about.
Not only that, but the other players that didn't get a look in, the other academy players, they will see that and they'll be like, oh, you know, that might push them on. That might push them on that extra 10, 15, 20% because they're seeing that there's that opportunity if I work harder, you know.
Well, he's added to that group, isn't he? You know, because you got Okoflex who's on bloody fire this year, isn't he?
Absolutely on fire. And if he was eligible, he would have played last night.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of doubt.
Can I ask you a quick question from what you've seen? Because I haven't seen much of him. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't follow the under-23s. I might start now. I've got to be honest after what I've seen. But I haven't been following the under-23s. Do you think that Okoflex would offer more on the wide right or wide left than Vlasic offers?
It's a really interesting question, and I'm going to say he'll probably offer no less. I think he's a very, very decent player. I think Celtic were absolutely gutted that he left because he came to the end of his contract and they wanted him to stay. And I think it's our gain and their loss. He is. I'll be really honest with you. I've seen, you know, when you watch the under-23s and you see how they play, you see a lot of players shine. I've not seen as many players shine as much as Okoflex has. He is. I think he's close. I really do think he's close, and I just wonder whether there'll be an opportunity for Moyes to call in. If he was eligible, he would have played last night. I have no doubt.
He can't be eligible now for the Europa League, can he? I don't think. Not this season. But
not this season. No.
But for the Premier League, he can. We can call him up to the senior team, can't we?
Call him up for the cup competitions. We can call him up for the Premier League. And it depends on what happens. And I kind of think now this is where we're going into, you know, talking about transfers. It depends on what's going to happen with the transfers because we know, you know, and. Let's start off with Zuma. Let's start off with our defensive options because we still don't really know how long he's going to be out for. Moyes has been quite canny in what he said about Zuma because he said yes, he's got the it's not the knee, is it? It's the damn it.
Do you think they would admit it was a knee if it was a knee with all the concerns that were surrounding when he came in?
That's conspiracy theory, but let me just clarify.
It is a conspiracy theory, yeah.
It is the ligament that connects the knee to the hamstring.
Okay, so it's knee related.
Yeah.
Okay, but what they haven't said is what grade, what level. That injury is. They've left that quite vague. You know, so everyone's speculating. Oh my God, he's out for 4 months. You know, the worst case scenario with that kind of injury is about 3-4 months.
Yeah,
but they haven't said what tear it is because if it's only a minor tear, if it's only a grade 1 or 2, that's 5-6 weeks possibly. Yeah. You know, but if it is 3, then it is a longer period of time.
I think we'll know based on what he does in the transfer window.
Well, this is where we're going to get to. So I know, Nick, what you want in the transfer. You want us to buy at least 4 players, don't you? More or less.
Yes. I want no. I'd make do with 3.
Fair enough, mate.
I do want a centre back. I want Lingard. So basically, if you gave me a choice now, I'm going to tell you now who I would choose. I spoke about this earlier, and I won't choose a striker because I haven't really got a clue who's feasible. But for the players who are available in defence, we need someone who can come in, like John said earlier on. Tarkowski fits the bill. Your show I watched the other day, the one that I commented on, Stel, you know that comparison chart that you put up? He blows everyone else out the water.
He does.
He does. You know, sign him. Get him in. Same with Lingard. You know he's going to come in. He's going to do a job. You know, he is going to do a job. So for me, 100%, those 2. But yes, we need a striker as well. We don't.
Well, let's stick with Tarkowski for a minute. Do you honestly think? I mean, Burnley have more or less said you're not getting him. Burnley do not want to let him go. So, how much of a chance do you think we're going to have to get Tarkowski?
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, that one there. Yeah,
I said this earlier on that as much as we want him and he may want to leave, to them getting £7 or £8 million for him in January is not worth what they lose if they get relegated. So they will weigh up the financial. They will weigh up the financial ramifications of if they get relegated without him and they sell him for 7 million, which is peanuts. To us, that's a great deal. To them, it's not a great deal.
We're going to have to compensate him. We are.
It'd be very difficult to get him out of the
this
club,
is the thing. You don't get a lot of compensation for getting relegated. You know,
No.
I'm with you, John. You know, it's I'm with you. I think there's talk about me, you know, as well. The captain. Well, they've both been captains for Burnley.
Yeah.
And he's in the final. They're both in the final. Me is 32, I think, and Tarkowski's just hitting 30. Both in the final season, their final season of their contracts, and they got to build. You know, they're going to have to hope on, you know, or above all hope to stay in the Premier League because they've got a massive building project going on if they go down this season.
I think Ben Mee is their best centre back.
Right,
but you can't bring him in at 32.
No, not 32, but I think he is their best centre back.
But what do you do?
Brilliant as well.
What do you do? As John said, you know, they could probably turn down 7 million, right? But could they turn down 10 to 12 million on the basis that it's very likely they're going to get relegated anyway? I don't know whether a decent centre half, because it's all about staying up, is all about scoring goals. We've seen this before. It's all about scoring goals, and if you're not scoring goals, then you're going to struggle anyway. You ain't going to defend your way into staying in the Premier League, are you? You're not going to be able to lock the door, and you know, so someone somewhere might be a little bit pragmatic and look at that and say 10 to 12 million. That could be 10 to 12 million plus what we get if we get relegated. And everything else, that could be a lifeline for them. 7 million wouldn't be. I agree with that, right? But 10 to 12, I think might be tempting. And I agree with what you've all said so far. It would be a fantastic signing for us. Exactly what the doctor ordered. We need him. Get him in.
He's a typical Moyes player. He's played lower league football with Oldham. He's been in he's been with Burnley in the Premier League for a long time. Sheffield United, I think he was at, or Bournemouth. But he's played lower league football. He's played over 300 career games. He knows his way about the pitch. He's experienced. He's a typical Moyes signing. And the big but is Burnley are fighting relegation, which they often do most seasons. Let's be honest. But are they going to want to get rid of him for what he's essentially?
I think this is my concern as well. I think they're going to play that risk and say we'd probably rather lose him at the end of the season and keep us up. So the question I wanted to ask, dependent on, you're absolutely right, Nick, you know, it's all dependent on Zuma's injury. If it's really bad, I'm kind of with you. I think we'll go and buy a central defender. If it's not so bad, he might go out, and get a loan signing.
Yeah.
So clearly Tarkowski wouldn't fit that bill. If we're going for Tarkowski because it's the last 6 months, we're gonna have to buy him. So him aside, who else would you think that we? I've got a few names if you want me to put them up. That we might go.
Go on. Throw a couple up.
There's 4 there. There are loads of others, but
from that list there, I mean, a lot of people will say Nathan Ake. I like Ake. I don't think he's a Moyes player. I think he's a cultured defender. He's 5'10" or something, and he's 5'11". He's not a 5'11". He's not a big, powerful defender. For me, it would be James. I don't know anything about Nicholas Stark, so I can't really comment on him. But from that list there, it would be the 2 on the right. It would be James Tarkowski and Claret Booze for me. They would be the 2.
Same here.
But Ake's got the Premier League experience, hasn't he?
I know. He's a very good player. I just don't know that he's.
It would be a lot more suitable in the short term. It would be more. It would be more, in my think, like more wise to go out and get Ake on loan to the end of the season. Again, loads of Premier League games. He may not be a more signing, but he's
a brilliant player.
Well, I don't think 5'10". You know, they're not all beasts, are they, these days? I mean, it's.
Yeah, see, this is my dilemma. I'm same as you guys. My dilemma is if we're going to go, if Moyes goes out, because I'm thinking about what did we see last night? Do we think that someone might come through? Not this season, but is there, might there be a player coming through at the beginning of next season from the youngsters? If Zuma comes back sooner he'll be back at some point this season, whether it be sooner or later. So Zuma will be back at the end of this season, beginning of next. We'll see Oggy kind of almost back. All of a sudden, if you go and buy another central defender, all of a sudden he's got 5. Now, for me, the option of which one would drop out for me is obvious. May not be for you guys, but for me it'd be Dawson. I think Dawson served his time at West Ham, and maybe he might be the one. You'll see Ogbonna at his age probably becoming more of a backup. I think he can still do a job.
Unless Diop grows frustrated unless he refuses to accept that he will have to live out the rest of his career as a backup player and says, I want to move. If you're going to keep on buying my replacement, I want to go.
Well, this is my point. I think it's Diop's time. And I think he's another much maligned player.
Yeah.
And gets an awful lot of stick for, I'm not quite sure why. It's really interesting because we have players that make mistakes and yet some get berated far more than others. And Diop falls into that far more than others bracket. And Gary, I mean, do you see why? Or
Masuaku, players like that,
I don't see why. I don't see why Diop gets all the stick that he gets. I think he's been. I'll tell you what. Since Zuma started, I noticed Zuma started and he was massively aggressive, right? And then a couple of games later, Diop came into the team and he was massively aggressive.
Yeah,
he came back and he'd like changed his game. It's like he'd been working with Zuma and he'd changed his attitude. And that's what I've seen from Diop lately. And that's what I really like with Diop, because Diop has got all the physical athleticism, all of the attributes he needs to dominate opponents. And as long as he's in that mode, and that's the mode he was in the other day when he played as well, against Chelsea, and that is the Diop I want to see, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that Diop. That Diop is a good player. He was when we got him, he was the best young French central defender that there was around the place. It was a bit of a coup that we got him, right? You remember what Mourinho said against him, about him when we played against one of his teams. He said he was a beast, and that is it. He's got to be fully confident and on his game, and when he is on his game and like that and very dominant, I think he's a great player, and that's what he needs to be more and more of the time. And hopefully now he's a little bit older, he will do that more and more. I would like to see Diop be the number one defender while Zuma is away.
I'm 100% with you there. That's what I want to see. I want to see Diop give him the chance. If he fucks up, then you say, right, you had your chance, now you're gone. But I'm with you. I think Diop has been getting a bit of a bad press, and I think what I've seen of him this season, you're absolutely right, Gary. He's been far more aggressive than he probably has been. People say, he's positional play, etc. But I've seen far worse. And
do you know what? I think it depends on styles, because a Diop, for instance, if I'm not saying that if you put Diop in the Man City team where players have got license to get the ball and run out of defence and burst out of defence and come forward, Diop will flourish. That is the type of defender that he is. He's quite proactive. He likes to surge forward. So it does depend on the style that Moyes wants to play. I think, because I do think that Diop is a bit of a cultured and almost he's a bit of a cultured defender, I think. And I think there are probably limitations with him defensively to a degree. But there's also some great stuff that he does. I mean, like some of his last-ditch challenges that he does, where he sticks him long legs out, and he makes some great challenges. So,
So you're saying then that he's not a Moyes centre half, really?
I think so. I think he's a top centre half. I do.
You don't think he's a Moyes type centre half?
Not with the way that we're playing at the moment, anyway. No, not with the way that we're set up at the moment. Potentially.
So your choice would be ideally then Tarkowski, John, Gary.
Yeah. He fits the bill, but when we get him or not is another story.
Yeah, I'd take Tarkowski all day long, and I would take Claret Booze, and I would also take Ake.
It's interesting. They could go with Ake on.
Tarkowski would be my first choice, though. It'd be my first choice.
But if Burnley ain't willing to sell, then you look at possibly taking Ake on loan till the end of the season, and then in the summer, Tarkowski's out of contract anyway. Ogbonna would be 34.5.
Yeah.
Dawson would be 33, so he's there anyway, isn't he?
I'll take an Ake loan because Ake loan. Ake has got something to prove, which is the kind of player we like, right? So get him in January. Nothing wrong with that. That's another Lingard.
But the same question is asked then of Man City. Are they going to want to? I mean, they probably might not worry too much about us but are they going to worry about giving a player to us when we're challenging for top 4?
No, we're not interfering with him. I don't think
are
we?
We? Yeah,
we're not touching the top 3. It's that 4th spot that we're looking at.
We're challenging for 4th, not top 4.
We've proven we can help Man City win the league by beating Liverpool and Chelsea.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, they owe us.
Yeah.
They owe us one. They owe us an Ake.
Yeah, they do. No, look. If we got Ake on a loan deal, who's going to complain about that?
I don't think many would, but you know, I've seen people saying they don't, you know, they think he's crap, but it's quite interesting. Crap. You know, you're not crap if you play for Chelsea, if you play for Man City, £40 million to Man City,
really good player. And I tell you what,
there's this thing that goes on, and I don't know what it's mystery to me, right? Where someone can't get into a Chelsea team like Zuma, right? They can't get into a Chelsea team, and we sign them, and like Lingard couldn't get into a Man U team. All these players. People write them off before they get it because they can't get into their home team. But they're playing in a team full of world-class talent where there's multiple options, and perhaps being a small fish in a big pond doesn't suit them. But coming to play and be the big fish in a small pond, like for West Ham, suits them down to the ground. I mean,
Zuma's a prime example.
Zuma was an absolute monster for us until he got injured.
John.
No, until he had those couple of dodgy games after Ogbonna got injured, but that was because he was playing on the left. But before that, and then after that, back against Chelsea at the weekend, he's back to his best. The guy was a beast. You couldn't understand how we got a player like that for 25 million, could you?
No, I
know. He's a good player, and if you get somebody cultured like Ake, and then obviously you get Lingard come in, all of a sudden we've got footballers in the same. And when you drop Hazard into that mix as well, you know, when you got Hazard out
Nicky Hazard.
Let's go there, didn't you?
Hazard.
But given that you have gone there. You know, I mean, fuck me. The worst fucking story this week has got to be Eden fucking Hazard for 25 million. That apparently Real Madrid
that is a bargain, mate.
Of course it is for someone who's been injured for the last 2 seasons. Yes,
no, apparently on TalkSport they said that a Real Madrid representative said double that offer and we'd talk.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Come on then. Let's talk about the strikers. Let's start with these 4.
I'll take Origi out of that list.
Out of that lot of Origi all day long.
And Cabral, the other one. I don't know who Darwin Núñez is. And Gabriel Barbosa is a basket case.
Darwin sounds too intelligent for a West Ham player.
Tell you what, he's got a Ben Rama haircut, Nick, that Barbosa.
Yeah. Well, we've been linked with him for about 5 seasons running. I'm sure we have.
Yeah, we've been linked to all of these all 4 players. And you know, this is where you start talking about, you know, what do you believe, what don't you believe? And let's start off with the one at the top left, Divock, because apparently, I don't know if you read this story. Klopp let slip that we had our chance in the summer and decided to walk away from the deal.
Well, that's frustrating. That is frustrating. That really is.
I'm really shocked that was the case.
He'd be perfect.
Yeah, I like him. I think he'd be perfect. And if that is true, there must be a reason why. Let's say, for argument's sake, well, Klopp said it. So why would he say it in an interview if it wasn't true? What would make you think that Moyes would have turned away from that deal?
No idea. I couldn't tell you. Absolutely no idea. I genuinely don't know. He doesn't have health issues. He doesn't get injured.
Because he divers. Could that be it?
Well, we have been told many a time. That Moyes dithers with options.
Stel agrees with me on the divering thing, don't you, Stel?
I do agree with you because I've heard that many times, and even Everton fans have said the same thing.
Yeah, but he's a Salthouse client, right? So if he's of all the players, of all those 4 players you just put up on the screen there, surely that's the one that we can get the deal done on.
Who's he share an agent with again? Was it Zuma? You said.
Sure.
No, it's
Salthouse.
It's Ben Rama. Ben Rama's
Ben Rama and him. Okay, yeah.
But it's David Sullivan's mate, isn't it?
Yeah. But do you know what, Stel? I must admit, because I'd never heard of that Arthur Cabral. It's the only reason he wants him because of his name, Arthur. That Cabral, I've only seen him on YouTube.
Don't say you watched it on a show reel.
What a player he looks, honestly.
Right, he's so un-Brazilian, though.
Over it kicks volleys. He looks
absolutely.
He looks really
good. He does look good. But
Swiss League. It's the Swiss League.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, and who was it we had in this from the Swiss league? Ajeti, and I mean, Cabral looks like a goal-scoring machine, but then so does Barbosa. They both are. I mean, they're both smashing it, but they're playing in either the Swiss league or the Brazilian league. So people will turn around and say, I did a piece on. Well, I've done a piece on all of them, and Cabral does look good. He's a goal machine, but I think out of those four, when I've done the research on them, the one that fits our style of play better is the guy down on the right, Darwin Núñez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Gabriel Barbosa and Darwin Núñez have world-class names. They do.
No, they do, and he's got an Alice band as well. So the kid's got everything.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy.
They've got that. So they've got the names. It's like they've picked them. They've changed them, haven't they?
Barbosa will cause a ruck in the changing room because Ben Rama will go, mate, what are you doing with the hair? Same as mine.
That's right. But I didn't interject Estelle. So go on, Darwin Núñez. I don't know much about him. Go on, tell us about him.
Well, if you look at the way he plays, if you read his style of play, etc., he is an Antonio in the making. He's 22 years of age. And he plays virtually the same way as Antonio does.
Lazily.
Well, no. When Antonio decides to turn up is what I mean. He's quite an interesting character, but I think he's valued at something like 40 odd million, and I don't think we'll go for him. No. But Barbosa's interesting because he came over to Europe.
Barbosa is actually a good player.
He's a very good player.
He's a good player.
And he went to Inter Milan at the age of 19, and they made him out to be the next, big deal.
Yeah.
And I think it might have got to him a little bit because it kind of like sometimes, youngsters take to it and they love it and the adulation, etc. But I think it sort of got to him in a very different way. And then Frank de Boer took over Inter and sent him out on loan to Portugal, saying they're probably acclimatized better in Europe over in Portugal, and they barely played him. So everyone's looking at his stats and go, "Fuck me, he's a failure." But he is another goal machine, and he's now 25 years of age. And I don't know, he looks like when you look at his photo, you think he could cause trouble, couldn't he? He's one of those sorts of players that. Yeah. But apparently he's a really nice. Apparently he's known to be a very nice, calm young man. He's not one of those that sort of like puts it about, etc. But it's interesting. But he's the one that is linked to us because of Newman with all his international sort of.
But what he doesn't give off though is that sort of sensitive kind of soul that Anderson was. He looks like a bit of a fucker. He looks like the type of person.
He looks like he's going to kick you.
He looks like he could handle the Premier League. He looks like he'd love it. He does. Yeah. And with that name, Gabriel Barbosa, that's the problem.
He looks like he'd shake your hand and nick your watch to me.
I'll tell you what.
I wouldn't even shake. I wouldn't wear none of my watches around him.
Gabriel Barbosa, in the words of Nick, that is a proper name.
That's a proper name.
Yeah. But let's go on to. Did I put a? Yeah, let's go on to this one. Fuck me. Fucking hell.
He's coming. Still, he's coming.
Coming home.
Coming where exactly? To go on, Nick. The platform's yours, mate. Go on.
Basically, Real Madrid have been looking at Vlasic, and they want a part exchange deal.
Well, remember they did take Julien Fulbert some time ago.
They did. They absolutely did. It took him on loan, didn't they?
So you never know. Stranger things.
He's been a terrible signing for them, though, hasn't he?
He's been awful. He's been injured. He's been injured, and. I think I said on one of the posts today, his agent is looking for the last payout. Real Madrid are looking for a payout to try and get him off their book. 400 fucking grand a week.
Imagine what Sullivan's going to say to that on the fucking. Fuck off, you fuck off.
It'd be like, did you put an extra zero by mistake in that figure? 400 grand a week he's on, and people are falling for. They think we're going to fucking sign him.
Yeah.
They think we're going to sign him. 400 grand a week. 30 years of age for 25 million pounds at 400 grand a week. Well, that's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, it's never going to happen. I mean, he ain't taking a pay cut to come to West Ham. That's for fucking dead sure, isn't it? He ain't going to do that. So, no, it ain't going to happen.
I agree.
He was a wonderful player, one of the best players in the world at one point. He was.
Absolutely world class. Yeah.
To quote Nick earlier, David Sullivan wrote an email to Real Madrid earlier, and he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll offer you $5 million, 75 grand a week for Eden Hazard. I'm going to fucking talk to PSG about one of their players."
Yeah. This is your last chance. Your last chance.
Although this story is ridiculous, right? It does actually offer a little bit of a clear. But it gives a little bit of a clear and present danger, right? In our desperation, we don't want to go out and just buy any Tom, Dick, and Harry just for their last payday.
Moyes won't do that though. I don't.
No, I know he won't. So why are we being? This who writes these stories to think that they're even going to contemplate?
Well, this is the thing. This is clearly,
it's bullshit.
What you get to find out is, you hear agents put things out, and then they've got contacts with journalists, and they go to a journalist and they go, I've got so and so. Apparently, West Ham are interested in Eden Hazard. So journalist writes a fucking story. Some other journalist picks it up, and before you know it, it's all over fucking social media. That and the thing that makes me laugh is that it's that certain people just absolutely believe everything you read and hear, and just all of a sudden you get them writing in their own columns
on Facebook, about
Facebook that it's true. Oh, sorry, I've got Nick up there by mistake.
I don't know why you've done that to me, still. You're putting me on the big screen.
Mate, I'm only winding you up. But I mean, that's how things escalate. And I learned this when I started doing my Monday shows. I learned this because I'd be putting on, fuck me, we're after this player, we're after that player, and people would take the piss out of me, going, "Where the fuck do you hear that from?" And then I really, you get speaking to people like Sean from Claret and Hugh.
I've just spilled me red wine. 1 minute, I'll be back in a minute.
All right, mate. And he kind of tells you
it's only a cheap bottle.
Hey, I'll turn that off. But it looks like I'm advertising. 1 minute.
No, it's all right, mate. You can put the thing up there. So I was given quite a bit of a lesson as to how the rumor mill works, and it's intriguing because and it makes me now when I talk about players in the show, I do it tongue in cheek. I think I did one on Rudiger a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
when apparently we were linked to him. We were linked to Rudiger because he turned down an offer from Chelsea to get paid 150 grand a week, and apparently he wants 200 grand a week. So I put a little caption up to say, "I'll come to you for 200 grand a week," and then I got another caption saying, "Tell him he's no fucking Declan." If anyone's going to get paid 200 grand a week, it's going to be him. But the rumor mill but the thing is, people believe it. People sort of like, they kind of go with it and they go, "Oh, that's got to be," because more than one social media column has written about it. It's got to be true,
Yeah.
So when do you think he's coming then, Nick? Next week?
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Nick.
You're on mute. You're doing a Stell.
Stay there, Nick. Stay on mute. Now go on.
No, I said it's impossible to keep track of these stories. I mean, we was going to do I was going to do a transfer thing on one of our shows, and then when you look at the level of players that we're linked with, you're just like, fucking, this is overwhelming. It really is.
Yeah.
And you don't know who to believe because
don't believe it till they walk through the door. That's the only time you can believe it.
I think there's no smoke without fire. I think there's a player on your list.
There must be a lot of fires.
No, but there's a player on your list that you haven't mentioned, and it's the one that we was linked with in the last window. Apparently, in this window, he's only got 18 months left on his contract because at Fiorentina, Milenkovic, he was only given a 1-year extension.
Not him again.
No, but he's only got 18 months left.
I think that ship sailed. I think that ship sailed. So? Yeah, I think Moyes won't go back the second time.
He would be good though. He's an half a good player,
without a doubt. Yeah, I agree. But he won't be 15 million because he's now got a year and a half left. He'll be maybe 25, 30 million because Fiorentina will want their, want their money back. But good shout. But I think that ship sailed. But so we've gone with Tarkowski or Claret Booze, and then of course there's another player who's on big money. Well, the one on the right, on the. Oh no, let's put that up. Anthony Martial.
Is Mike Brennan watching?
Yeah, but you're all laughing, you see. But this could be good. Bit of
Listen,
business.
I'd take him in a heartbeat on loan.
On loan, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that.
I'll tell you what, he was brilliant in coming to America, wasn't he?
Carries on playing how he's playing. He'll be going to America in MLS, won't he? Jesus.
I mean, he's another player on big money. I think I don't know what it is. I think it's about 200 and something grand a week or whatever. I could be wrong. But I remember the fanfare when he signed for Man United. It was like
massive.
He was on huge money.
He was supposed to be the new Thierry Henry, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Has he done it for them? Is he good enough?
Worked out. Hasn't quite worked out.
I think he's a top talent. I think if we get him in on loan, it's a shot, as John said this earlier on, so I'm echoing what John said, but it's a shop window signing. So if you get him on loan, it works best for both parties. He's going to be fucking really going out of his way to perform and get goals because he's going to be trying to get himself a move for the summer. We're going to benefit from that as well. So it's a no-brainer. If you get him in on loan, why not? You know,
I'll go with that.
Fantastic. It could be fantastic. He wouldn't want to sign for West Ham permanently. No. His aspirations are far bigger than West Ham. He's an ego, whatever. Good luck to him. But if we got him on loan, he's got a lot to prove.
Huh? Yeah.
Loan every day of the week. I'd take him. Loan every day of the week.
Okay.
Definitely.
I'm going to put these two guys up for you. You tell me which one you'd rather have.
Oh,
there's only one. There's only one.
One on the right's coming, and the other one's a bonus.
They might be really close mates. He might say, "Come on, come down to London."
What accent was that there, John?
That was my impression of Martial.
Was that a Scouse kind of Newcastle sort of?
It was mocking Gary's accents.
Sorry, you having a go at my accents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lingard.
I think Lingard's a done deal, and it's got to be.
I've been told it's a done deal, but I'm not until he walks through the door with a West Ham shirt on again, this season's shirt, not last season's.
Yeah,
I won't believe it. Now, here's the big question, and I have an awful lot of heated debates with people, especially online. Lingard is not a striker, but we know what he can do up front. Agreed?
Yes. Yeah.
If we do not get a striker and we only get Jesse in, are we happy with that?
No.
Yeah, I am.
Well, listen, I'll be
happy if we get Jesse in, but I won't be happy if we don't get a striker in. So I'll be half happy, 50% happy. I'll be.
Just having you 50% happy.
I was going to go more. I was going to go 75% happy. So I'm happy with Nick.
I'm happy that Nick's a little bit happy. Someone is.
I'll be half happy. I'll be half happy if he comes in. I'll be happy because we've got Lingard, but I'll be pissed off at the same time that we ain't got a striker.
So
he was a striker.
Okay. Let's put it in context. David Moyes has been back since how many windows has he had? This will be his
17th window.
75th window. He's had more windows than a double.
Let's hope he does better in this window.
So he's had, I don't know, is it his fourth one? It is his fourth one, I'm thinking.
I know.
He's been back 4, yeah.
So he's had 3 windows already to get a striker in, and he hasn't succeeded. And we heard earlier that Klopp said we walked away from a deal. So there was a striker there that he could have taken.
That's brilliant. So he walked away from Origi and sold the best striker in Europe at the moment in the space of 2 years. This is great.
When I said Haller should have stayed, the amount of shit I got from people going, "You don't fucking know anything about football. He's shit." Oh yeah, a really shit player is the highest goal scorer in the Champions League.
Well, 10 goals in his first 6 games in the Champions League. 10, more than Ronaldo.
Really
preaching to the converted. But that ship sailed. So I'm asking you guys. I mean, I've heard what you said, Nick. You would not be happy if we don't have a striker in, if it's only Lingard.
I won't be happy.
Gary?
Well, exactly what I just said. I think, I'd love it. Look, Lingard's a minimum requirement. A centre half and Lingard are minimum requirements, right? Need a striker. I would only be 75% happy if we didn't get a striker. We badly need another option to Antonio. If we're going to really, this is a pivotal transfer window, and I don't want to oversell it, but we are in the last 16 of the Europa League potentially we're in the semi-finals of the.
They've got to push it. They have to push it this year.
No, but potentially we could be in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. We're starting off in the FA Cup. We're 4th place in the league. We've got 7 games in December. I don't know where we're going to be at the end of December, and we might struggle a bit in a couple of those games. But it's a good run that we got ahead of us in terms of opposition teams. So as long as we don't have any more injuries, I think we might land in January in a good place. And I think investment in the squad in this time is absolutely pivotal. And as David Moyes has been saying just lately, agents are calling me all the time with quality players.
Yeah,
they're calling him.
That's marginally better than John's accent. I'll give you that.
They're calling him apparently day and night, not only with crap. They're calling it. This is words out of his own mouth. He's getting calls from agents with quality players available to him. So I see no fucking excuse not to sign a striker.
No. Do you know what I think? Let me interject, but very quickly. Very quickly. I'll get to the point quicker. Our January transfer window. I will. Our January transfer window. Our January transfer window will be dictated by where we are come the January transfer window.
No, it won't.
If we fall away in December and we go out the League Cup, then I don't know. No. But by the time January comes, I don't think there'll be the appetite to throw as much money at this season. If all of a sudden we're sort of 6th and 7th, if we're still in there and it's in touching distance and we're in the semi-final, then I think the club will invest. I think they will. I think there's that as well.
Yeah. What's more important? What's more important, a striker or a centre back in January?
Well, before we answer that, I need to know what you think. Will we get a striker, or will we be happy? Will you be happy if we don't get a striker and we get, say, a Lingard?
What? This is. I'm going to build this up, right? This window is the most important window in recent history. I don't care what anyone says about fighting relegation in the past, etc. We are looking for progression, whether that comes from a striker or whatever you want, right? He or they, the club, need to realise the importance of this for our next step. Sod what happens against Spurs. If we get out that cup, we get out the cup. There's more to the season than that. Maintaining our position, not 4th, but just qualifying for Europe again, that is progression in itself, right? I'm not being defeatist. I'm not being negative, but this is the most important window we need to go for. In my opinion, if we get Lingard, what you've got there is you do have another option. He can play up front, right? Bowen's done it as well in the past. Yeah. So I'm not poo-pooing the idea of not getting a striker. I'd love to go out and get a striker. But I think at the moment, looking around, picking up a striker who can come in and hit the ground running is far more difficult than doing it with a centre-back. There's less options there. If you look around the Premier League, there's not really many Premier League strikers, apart from Origi, who we maybe have a chance of getting in on loan or whatever you want to call it. Unless you then look down to the Championship, which some clubs do. We probably won't now. We've got this new scouting system in place. No. They probably won't even know where the Championship is, So for me, if we just get Lingard and the centre-back, I would be happy. Of course, with a striker as well, I'd be ecstatic, but I can't see it.
I think we've got to be... I think there's I know I'm going to get shouted down because I do whenever I say this. I think we're going to have a sense of realism that Moyes is not going to go and get, I have other arguments about, the value of a player as well. And if we want to be up there, et cetera, we've got to pay money for the big players. And I kind of say, well, look what happened when we had Pellegrini in and we were paying big money for players and it all went tits up, whereas what Moyes does, he'll get a player that he thinks can do a job. I mean, look how we were going. We were all apoplectic when he brought Dawson in on loan, £2 million, and we're like, "What the fuck's he doing? What? This is typical Moyes, And yet he did a good enough job and helped the team get into 6th place. And he bought Souček in on loan, 19 million. He bought Bowen in on 19 million from the Championship. And what Moyes does, and I'll take my hat off to the man because. He does it and does it and does it. And you think, how's he gotten away with that? Or is it luck or is it tactical? The way he goes about it, he scouts, he knows what he wants in his head. I think one of you guys said earlier, when it comes to a central defender, he wants a brute. So as much as I want Ake in, it's probably not going to be him because he may not be brute. He might look at Ake and go, bit similar to Diop.
He don't fit the profile. He doesn't fit the profile.
And when it comes to everyone, I actually agree. We need a striker, but I believe that what he'll do is he'll bring a probably a lone centre back in, and he probably be bringing in Lingard, and that might be our lot.
Yeah.
Well, then I will shit and stamp in it if that is what happens.
What? Oh, don't stamp in your own shit. Ooh.
No, honestly,
with bare feet or with shoes on.
Honestly, we need a striker. We can't go another window without a striker. We do.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm trying to think in Moyes, what Moyes thinks, and my head keeps telling you, my heart tells me I'd love to get a striker in, a central defender in, and maybe an attacking midfielder, maybe.
Yeah,
I know.
My head's telling me probably a lone central defender in Lingard, and that will be.
You are such a tease still, because you show us all these strikers, and then you go, "We ain't getting none."
Yeah, but I do qualify it by saying, "Rumour has it."
Yeah, but Nick,
look how good this bloke Arthur Cabral is.
He's shit hot. We ain't getting him.
Yeah, but Nick, the problem is, Nick, where you believe everything you read, when Still does one of them programs, you're like,
I am, yeah.
Me and Gary are more like, we ain't getting none of them. Come on, let's be realistic.
No. See, what I don't get, what I don't understand, right, is if are we not buying a striker because we don't have the money in this window, or because we just don't want a striker? Because if we do want a striker, then this window is a window to buy one. Because why wait until the end of the year? This is the year. This is a year where we can make stuff happen.
I agree. I do totally agree. I think I've been worried about Antonio's performances this season, and I got to a point in the season where Antonio was playing poor, and then all of a sudden he'll score a goal, or all of a sudden he'll make an assist, and I kind of said to myself, right, Antonio's playing the typical number 9, where you do not have to be in the game for 70 minutes, and then you show up, score a goal, make an assist, and you've done your job. But unfortunately, it's gone from that to him not showing up at all. It's really quite interesting. Like in the first half against Chelsea, he was nowhere to be seen, and yet he was a completely different player in the second half.
But my argument is he's not getting a lot. He's not getting a lot of service from the other front three. That's my argument with it.
I disagree.
I don't think he's getting a lot.
I think the way you see Moyes playing Antonio is Antonio gets the ball, and I keep moaning about him playing, taking the ball out wide. But what's happening is, and more often is, by him going out wide, taking the ball out wide, drags players with him, and then Bowen and other players are going into that gap, and that kind of works. But even that's not been happening lately. Nothing stuck to him lately. It's like been quite frustrating where he kind of almost looked like he's tired before the game even starts, but yet he had a storming second half against Chelsea.
He did, but he was just sloppy against Chelsea. The first half, you saw a couple of classic Antonio moves where he would do something marvellous and win the ball, and he would take the ball away and he would just pass it to the opposition player, right? Or there was another one where he was backing it. The ball was played into his feet. It back into the opposition player. It'd fall over, and then the opposition player would just run away with the ball. He was doing all that classic Antonio stuff in the first half. And that all fell by the wayside in the second half because he came out and he was more on his game. He's got to be that way inclined all the time because he doesn't have to score goals. He just has to be the Antonio, the big beast who leads from the front and creates chances for other people. If he can do that, I don't really care about the goals. If he can do that, that's all I want from Antonio.
Can I interject? I think that Antonio's getting a bad rap because I'm going to, right? Because Antonio, and I'm going to defend Antonio because we all know what Antonio is all about. You don't take the football journey that Antonio has taken unless you are 100%. And he hasn't got the most talent in the world. We know that. So he's got there on spirit and strength and everything else, right?
Yeah.
Now, we know his injury problems. The fact is he started to resemble a striker now. He started to look like a player who's managing himself. He's not running after every lost cause. Don't tell me that isn't under instruction. He's being coached to manage himself properly, and that is the thing. He's not going to run. He can't physically can't do it.
You might be right.
And what happened is in that second half, he got told to fucking go out there, and he had Bowen up there with him, and he looked excited. Antonio looked excited in that second half. He did.
You might be right. He might have been just, for the first
lazy.
half.
Antonio is not lazy.
No, I'm not saying he's lazy. He put in a shift in the first half. It's just his touch was sloppy, right? But you might be right. Yeah. He might have been managing himself in the first half.
I think the club are managing him. I think he's under instruction. He's
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. You could have something now.
That's what I think. That's what I think.
So we're concluding that, Nick, you think we're buying half of Barcelona. Gary, mind you, we don't fucking want any of Barcelona's players.
No. I want to play Barcelona, though.
I'll tell you what.
I want that to happen nearer the end of the.
I said the same thing. Play them in the final.
I think, optimistically, the upper level, the upper threshold, I think we're signing Lingard and a packet of quavers.
Lingard and a centre back on loan.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me.
What did you say? Did you just say 2 players, Lingard and a centre back on loan?
That's not what I'm saying. Listen, I would want the world. Of course I would. It's a sense of realism, Nick. It's realistic. Don't listen to Stel when don't look at every player we might buy in the world ever.
You've come on his show. You've lowered your expectations.
No, I haven't. What are you talking about? Listen. What are you
He's
talking about?
realigned your expectations.
Listen.
Would you like me to run through the latest lot of players that we're linked to this week?
Oh, fucking hell.
About fucking 8 of them. I'll tell you, I ain't even started yet.
I don't know. Listen, you might be right. And as John's saying, if we have to get the centre back will be signed. He'll sign the centre back because he will. Lingard hopefully will come over. If that happens, then that is a better window than the last one straight away. As far as I'm concerned, if we can just get Lingard back in. If we get a striker as well, then it is an amazing window. It's an amazing window.
People keep saying that, we're not going to be able to get these top strikers because whatever striker we buy is going to come in and play second fiddle to Antonio. I don't really understand that because if you're buying another striker, you're not buying him in to come in and score goals. I don't get that.
This is the conversation we've had about Král and saying Král's not good enough, but then if we get a better central midfielder, they're going to want to play, and same situation for any position really. And this is why, the whole thing, because Moyes is such a he will have if Antonio's fit, he'll be the starter every time.
He will
every time.
So he's loyal, isn't he?
He's loyal, and getting another striker in who's as good as Antonio is going to be a problem. I think that's why he's having the problem. I kind of think it's like more because it's in Moyes' head. What am I going to do with this great striker that's going to sit on the bench, rather than because if we get someone in that ain't that good, ain't going to be worth it, is it?
Well, especially after selling Europe's best striker 18 months ago.
I'll turn the page.
For 20 million.
Right, we've done 1 hour 50 minutes, and I'm going to go through some comments because we've neglected our viewers who have been very,
Hang on a minute, Stel. You've neglected your viewers, yeah?
Yes.
This is your show. Don't blame us for your negligence.
In order to give you lot some limelight, I've neglected my viewers. Yeah. There you go. You wanted it? I gave you that one. So, let's see. Hammerette. I don't know if you're still awake, Hammerette. Are you still with us?
Oh, hello,
this was about 2 hours ago. What do you think? We talked about this. What do you think about Martial did he put in a transfer request?
Ooh.
I don't think he did.
I'm Googling it. I'll tell you.
You do it.
Okay. His agent came out and said something, didn't he?
I think his agent came out. Yeah. But I'm not sure if he put in a transfer request. But be very, very interesting.
You're drunk when you Google Googling.
Hello, Chris. Again, I don't know if you're with us, mate, because this was about an hour or so ago. FA Cup is still the cup I have the most affection for, but the cup we need this season is the one that is most likely to set us up for next season.
Yes,
That's
Chris.
the Europa.
Yes, Chris.
Yeah. You know what? Any cup for me will do.
Any pot.
Good evening to you, Steve. Piss taking between right. I don't piss take. I'm actually serious when I have a go at this. Happy. Am I alone in wanting the easiest draw possible so we can make it through the next round? All this Barcelona sounds nice.
Yes, agree.
Could be the end of the journey.
I'm with you. I'm with
him 100%.
Yeah.
Trini, talking about Nick's favourite player with Yarmo, his body language takes the piss. Moyes needs to drop him now with a view to offload him in January. We've discussed that as well, and I think we agree. I think
yeah, he ain't getting another game between now and January, is he?
Be very surprised. You'd often think that he might play a few, other players in the cup competition.
When's the FA Cup? When's the FA Cup draw?
Yeah.
When's the FA Cup?
No, it's January.
January.
He ain't going to play against Spurs, though, is he?
I fucking hope not.
I hope not.
I will not be happy if he plays in that game.
I hope not.
We're going to that, Nick. You'll have the right.
Yeah, I know. I will.
Are you going there?
We're going Arsenal as well. We're going Arsenal as well.
Well, let's see. Well, find out where you are, and we'll have a
beer. We're going to have a beer. Yeah,
absolutely.
We should have a beer. We should.
Yeah. Moyes pointed out Yarmo didn't track back. That cost us the goal. Yeah. Let's try. I don't want to upset Nick in the last few minutes. We're trying not to talk about Yarmolenko. I'm worried that Vlasic still does not have the ability to play Premier League football, as was the case in his spell at Everton. Is that fair? Because at Everton he was quite young. He kept saying himself he was played out of position. Yeah.
He was 18 at Everton.
He played about a dozen games at Everton.
Yeah, and he was brought in by one manager, and that manager left after a couple of games, and then he got like bit parts.
Yeah.
And Sam came in, and he he don't like short players, does he?
Who's this player?
Howard, how are you, mate? I believe Král is still young and developing. He only plays next to Noble. When he plays nationally, he has Souček alongside him. They're different nationality, mate. No, you're dead right. He has got Souček alongside.
I'll tell you what. Again, Howard, you're right.
I don't agree. He ain't worth 70 million.
Nick, stop. In the Man United game where I thought he was magnificent and you didn't. Right,
magnificent. I mean, you have got such low standards. You call Haller shit and Král amazing. You know nothing about football. Nothing.
You heard it here first. Claret and Blues has just split up.
You call Haller shit and Král amazing.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
Listen, this is sibling rivalry style. We split up every day. He was magnificent going forward in that Man United game, and I mean magnificent, Nick. Magnificent.
Howard, I believe Král is still young, developing. We've done that one. Sorry.
So you started, Howard. So you started.
Huge. I think you're missing the point. For us to make the step up to top 4, we can't just buy backup players. We need top class players. I don't disagree. I don't think any of us disagree. I think we do need top class players. And but unfortunately, the discussion that we've had is: are we at this stage yet where top class players are going to be happy to sit on the bench?
But I think when you've got a small squad like we have. Our backup players, they're not far away from the first team, though, still, are they? So they're not. It ain't like it ain't like Man United buying Van der Beek, who's never going to get in the team. I think our second string players are almost there, and it's almost like you want to buy players that are going to challenge the first team players to keep them on their toes. So I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
I agree with it, but I just wonder if when Moyes talks about we're not quite there yet, regularly challenging for the top 4. And I think this is what he's alluding to. Is like, he knows himself. And it's great that he's got agents coming up to him now and saying, I'm offering you a better level of player. But sometimes I just wonder if Moyes himself doesn't want to have that problem, having a world-class striker.
I think Moyes is just being realistic, and the fans ain't. Some of the fans ain't, if I'm honest.
Nick.
Yeah. Vinay saying something to Richard. Moyes is no fool. He knows Masuaku's strengths. Hang on, I'm a bit lost there. I'm going to have to read that one again. He knows Masuaku has strengths.
No. He knows his strengths.
I understood it.
In Moyes' first stint, Masuaku was really important, and that's a valid point. He was,
wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was missed when he was.
Ain't that when he played Cresswell behind? He played Cresswell and Masuaku in front, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was when he brought in the back 3, wasn't it, for the first time, and put Cresswell in that back 3.
That's right.
Yeah,
and to be fair, what you said earlier, he looks good with Cresswell behind him. Yeah,
he does.
Huge. Moyes wants to challenge for top 4. To do that, he needs top players. Yep, we've discussed that one. Sorry, people, that I've not put in most of your comments tonight. I do apologise. Epic. Still, you can't seriously think the Swiss league and Brazilian leagues are just as good. I didn't say that. I think this was when we were talking about Cabral and Barbosa.
Is that the Swiss league and the Brazilian league are as good as each other, or that they're not as good as the Premier League?
Probably, I think Epic is talking about them being as good. I know. Look, the Premier League.
I know nothing about either, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I can't profess to know much. I know the Swiss league is probably not that higher standard. Brazilian league, I don't really know. But no, I agree. But then we brought in a couple of Czech players, and the Czech league isn't exactly storming. That's quite a low standard league. I'm not suggesting for a moment, Epic, that they are anywhere near the Premier League.
But Gabriel Barbosa has a sound of Breaking Bad.
Great name, isn't it?
Breaking Bad. What a great
good
name.
Yeah.
Bring back Hernandez. He was only on $100,000 a week. Where is he now? Moyes disliked him. He was good though. Yeah.
He's in the MLS, isn't he?
I think he's having a good time in the MLS. Doesn't have to do much.
Oh my God!
Then Epic. The club would have not signed Newman and all those scouts if there was no money to sign players. What do you think of that? Is there money to sign players?
I think so.
I don't know,
but I don't think it will be silly money. I think it will be controlled money.
And this is the thing. A lot of people are assuming we're gonna go back and start spending big again. And for me, big is like 30 grand, 30 million or more.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen, is it? We're never going to get a player over 30 million again.
Moyes likes to give change. When he used to turn up in the summer with Bill Kenwright, and Bill Kenwright used to say, "Here, Dave, here's a tenner. You need to go and build a squad, buy some players." He used to bring back £7.50 change. That's what Moyes is going to do now. He's going to want value for money, in exactly the same way he always has done. He's not going to spend silly money, and I'll make him right in that. So Newman and the scouts, you've got to hope that they're going to bring some value to the table and put some proper options in front of Moyes. Yeah, you both said earlier, Diver Dave and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully this gets around that. It circumvents that Diver Dave thing.
Yeah.
Where he puts some proper options on the table and says, Dave, who do you want? Yeah, I like him. And they go off and they do the business.
Do you know what, though? I am going to throw just one quick comment at this. It probably might not be that quick. And that is around Vlasic, right? And obviously the first person that we recruited as part of our scouting team was Mark Rockon, who was the analyst for the Croatian national team.
Yeah.
And apparently Vlasic came off the back of this guy's recommendation. So that could effectively, and he's part of our team now, I'm not being funny, if that is not just Moyes, that's this chap as well. And so I don't think it's going to be and because it was almost that deal was almost came out of nowhere, didn't it? The Vlasic deal.
It did come out of nowhere. Yeah.
If that's what you said, though, I'll be very worried if that's right, because
it's true.
But I think since then,
part of our team.
Well, signing somebody on the strength of
signing
somebody on the strength of analytics still, right? So, that would be the equivalent of firing up FIFA and seeing who's good in Croatia.
Yeah.
That's exactly how Sam Allardyce used to buy players.
Yeah. And what Sam did with Jarvis and Carroll, wasn't it? The bloke who put the most crosses in and the bloke who won the most headers. That sort of thing,
Yeah, Allardyce stuck to that because when he got promoted with Bolton, when Allardyce got promoted with Bolton out of the blue, he didn't have time to scout anyone. He did it all on analytics. And he stuck with it for most of his career.
I think since the Vlasic sign and Newman has, I know we had Newman in, but he was on gardening leave. So I think maybe, so maybe it's kind of changed now. But it's a good point, though. It's a good point. If you do it only on analytics, and if Moyes kind of went with that, that's a bit of a.
And he won't want to make that mistake again, so he might look at that, and that might add to the divering still. It might add to it. He might go, ooh.
Could do.
Ryan,
you four guys are great. I don't know who these other three are, Ryan. They just came on the show.
Thank you, Ryan.
Not long got in from a long night at work, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Listening to this Quality Irons chat. More of it again, please.
Cheers, Ryan.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciated.
And his name rhymes.
Ryan the Iron.
Ryan the Iron.
Moyes choosing no striker as nobody tickles his fancy is no longer acceptable. We've had enough windows to address this. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
He can't get away with it again, can he? Or will he?
But I think getting a striker is a tough gig to find someone. I'm telling you, I think it's a really tough one.
Especially in January.
It's really hard to get a striker at the minute.
Excuses. We've had like this is dragging on.
Mate, I'm telling you, Championship.
Ajax didn't have any trouble finding a striker in January, did they? 18 months ago. They was all right.
Who?
Ajax. They got a good striker in January 18 months ago, didn't they? For
God's sake, Nick, you're so boring.
Turn the page.
But you know what, Nick? I'm with you on that. I didn't want to sell her there. I didn't want us to sell her there.
Million. Oh,
yeah,
all our yesterdays. Yeah.
Apparently, Newcastle. Chris, how are you, mate? Newcastle are willing to offer 200 grand a week.
200 grand a week to play in the Championship. Lovely. I'll take that.
I've got to be honest. I think Lingard. Look, he's a rich guy already. I'm not being.
He wants England.
He'll be coming down here on a good wedge. He will be.
He wants football.
And he knows that he fits in at West Ham and it's all right for him. And I think it would be mental if he chose Newcastle over West Ham.
I don't think he will.
Stupid.
I don't think
for his obvious England aspirations, it will be West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely.
G, try Vlasic more centrally if we do not get an attacker. Is that an option?
No.
I haven't seen enough of him.
No.
Nick, honestly, mate, on the day the window closes, I want to do a show with you.
You can.
You come on our transfer show. And
you want to do it late, though, because it'll have to be after the watershed.
Well, I don't care what time it will be, because we haven't signed a striker.
Fucking hell.
I want to see the state of you when all we've brought in is Ake on loan and Lingard. And I want to see...
Well, it won't even be Lingard. It'll be some other fucking Czech version that we've just bought in. Another one.
The Czech Lingard.
The backup, the Král backup for the Czech national team.
You should have seen him when we got Jordan Hugo.
Oh, well, I must admit, I would have been fucked up with that as well. Well, I was fucked up with that.
I
know.
No, look.
Every manager's allowed a mistake every season.
Nick calls him a dud. Nick calls it a dud, didn't Nick?
A dud. But listen. As much as I'd like to say I would have the ump, I think I would struggle to not be excited if we did get Lingard in. I think that would probably
look at that.
I'd get over it. Is
that right?
Is that right? Is that right?
Jamaica in January.
I don't know if that is right. I know he is going off. I know he, if he gets selected, he will have games. I don't think it's as many as 6
How can he not sign a striker then, still? How can a striker not be a priority?
John, with the greatest of respect, John Layton, I don't think that stat is correct. But
John, you just raised my blood pressure, mate.
I don't think Jamaica have got 6 games in January. I really don't. But there is the AFCON. If that goes ahead, there's the African Nations Cup, which we're going to lose. Ben Rama for, and it could be.
Did Diop sign for Morocco?
Diop.
Oh, Nick,
maybe.
Nick Speckle Jim's going to go to the African Cup of Nations.
I said, I'm going to bed incandescent with rage. I'm telling you.
English for all. If Moyes had the chance of Origi in the summer and didn't take him, he might go for Martial. Depends on what Lingard tells him. Martial, is that realistic? I mean, we have discussed it, but
I think it's realistic to get him on loan, and I think it would be why not? Why not?
Let's do the final one. Paul, by the bloke who scored the goal last night, their best player. He was fuming when taken off.
It was a deflection. It was a deflection, Paul.
No, listen, get him in for the Tottenham game. He scored a hat-trick against them, didn't he, John? Yeah. When it Orsic, who scored the hat-trick against Tottenham.
Yeah, last year against Spurs, he scored a hat-trick, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Buy him.
Yeah,
buy him. Get him in. Just for the Spurs game.
Just for the Carabao Cup, exactly. Exactly.
Right, lads, we've done 2 hours and 4 minutes. I mean, that's some going,
It's flown by.
I know.
Listen, we're just getting started still. We're having a drink. We're just getting started.
This has been like a 5-hour session because we started at 9 still.
Oh mate, you're talking to me about long shows. What's going?
Honestly,
what's going on?
you're annoying. I feel mangled. I
was on my own on a Monday night, mate. You know?
Can I just stop and say, Nick, John, high five for the 5-hour sesh.
High five.
Well done, lads. I'll take my hat off to you. Well done. Well done.
No, honestly, Stel, thank you very much for having us on, mate. I really appreciate that.
You.
And
been my pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming on as well. I'll give you an update when we go off air about the thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much. One last plug for Claret and Blues.
John, let John go.
No, I'm not good at that. Go on, Gal.
So, Claret and Blues, please, if you've enjoyed this little chat we've had here tonight, this is the regular cast of me, John, and Nick, with Nick being the unreasonable one, the miserable one, my little brother. Funny one. I don't know about that. It's sometimes annoying. It's quite often annoying. So we have a regular. We don't do many shows. We do one, maybe 2 a week. We do a Friday night and a Sunday night sometimes, and whenever it takes our fancy, really.
Oh, come on, hurry up.
And we have a little laugh about talking about West Ham, and we have a guest on, and we laugh. Listen, you fucking gave this to me to do, and now you're having a go at me. And this is typical.
Come on.
This is the best fucking advertisement for Claret and Booze. Anyway. Thank you. If you like what we do, even if you ain't Nick, join Claret and Booze and subscribe, please. Thank you very much.
Right, that's our lot. Thank you all for joining in. Sorry I didn't put up as many comments as I usually do, but thank you all for getting involved as usual. It's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it. And people have said, thank you very much. Maybe do it again. Absolutely, we will, without a shadow of a doubt. And guys, thank you. And listen, let's find out where you are for Arsenal and Spurs, because I'll be going. So we'll catch up.
We will do. It's been
good
fun.
night, all.
Thank you. Good night, all.
And we'll see you all very soon.
Good night.